discussions. Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge that we are meeting on the indigenous lands of Turtle Island, the ancestral name for what is now known as North America. Moreover, we'd like to acknowledge the Alabama Cushata, Caddo, Carrizo, Comecrudo, Coatican, Comanche, Kickapoo, Lipan, Apache, Tonkawa, and Islet del Sur Pueblo, and all the American Indian and indigenous peoples and communities who have been or have become a part of these lands and territories in Texas. So as I said, this is the Diversity in STEM discussions. This is a panel meant to highlight these 6 extraordinary UT alumni who represent a minority in their respective fields. During this panel, you'll get the opportunity to ask questions, mainly in the form of the breakout rooms after this brief panel. So the structure of the event will go as such. We'll have a brief panel where I'll ask a few questions to all of the panelists, and then we'll all leave into our breakout rooms, and then you can ask your own questions there. But first, I'd like to give the panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about them. So if you'd like to start, Mr. Brown.
So my name is Jerome Brown. I work at Dell. I'm a senior manager. I manage 3 teams there, all around cybersecurity. And I'm pursuing my PhD in cybersecurity right now. That's it.
Gabriel Pineda.
Hi. So my students typically call me Dr. Pineda. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas. I went to undergrad at UT Austin, and I guess I was in several places for my former academic training. I got my PhD at UT Southwestern and moved to San Diego for my postdoc, where I reside now with my family, and currently a professor at National University and have a research group at UCSD.
Barbara Jones.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Jones. I am the founder and CEO of Lilly R&B Inc., and that's LILLII, which is an acronym for Let's Imagine Life with Ladies in IT. And my company does retail technology. It's actually a serial entrepreneur. I've done about 3 retail tech startups. 2 were in Austin, and then this one is here in Georgia, where I live now. And the first 2 got acquired, one by Oracle, one by Infor. So I love building retail tech. Right now, we're working on a product that helps retailers with store returns, which is a huge issue due to COVID last year. So I love talking about technology and entrepreneurship, and I hope to speak with some of the students today.
Awesome. And Alyssa.
Hello, my name is Alyssa Cunha. I was born and raised in Corpus Christi, graduated from the University of Texas in 2012 with a chemistry degree. And I work in consumer goods. I started in Cincinnati with Procter & Gamble. I moved out to Portland, Oregon to work for a startup actually, which has been acquired by Unilever. And so I work within research and development, working very closely with making products that, deliver delight to consumers, make their lives easier, and reduce waste on the planet.
Marjorie Morales.
Hello. I grew up in New Mexico in El Paso, and then I went to school in Austin and got a computer science degree there. And then I went to work for NASA because that's where I always wanted to work. And then Challenger exploded 10 days after I started. So I kind of had to rethink my career, but having a computer science degree, it was kind of easy and to move somewhere else. And so I worked for Texas Instruments for a bit in their computer science department, working on all the original software that goes with what you have on your cell phone, except they were all individual products back then. And then after that, I got into healthcare technology, and that's what I've been doing ever since then, working on small venture funded companies. But then I started working at a hospital, and I really enjoyed that because I got to see a lot of the products that we'd done in the past. And right now I'm working for UT Southwestern Medical Center, and I have a team of analysts, and we do analytics on all the data that we get from the hospital, which is really cool because we get to see how we can impact patient care and help save patient lives with technology.
And lastly, Vifu.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here, and thank you so much for taking time to join us this evening. My name is Vi Phu, and I was born and raised in Vietnam. I got to America in middle school, so I learned English as a second language. And I went to UT for undergrad, got my undergrad in math, and then a master at UT as well in statistics. After that, I went to the consulting field and worked as an actuarial consultant. My last job before I retired in 2019 was I was a partner at Ernst& Young, and I led their national healthcare consultant group. So what that meant is that I worked with their clients, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 clients, and working with their VPHR and primarily CFOs to develop their benefits program, and using the actuarial skill that I learned at UT under Dr. Jim Daniels to project their healthcare costs, and hopefully I share some of that experience. As someone who learned English as a second language and going into the consulting field with you all today.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists who are here today and taking time out of their day. We really appreciate it. I'm going to get started with the first question, and this is for all of you. What advice would you give underrepresented groups pursuing careers in your professional field? So if anybody wants to start, or in particular?
I can answer that one, or at least, my thoughts on it. To be inquisitive is the advice that, always ask why, try to understand that. And one of the biggest things that I've learned over my 25 years is really try to get a mentor, kind of help navigate your career through the company or through whatever, but mentor can definitely help. And I think I didn't get a mentor early in my career, but I soon realized that a lot of people that did really well had a mentor. So that would be the biggest thing, is get a mentor, be inquisitive, always strive to understand why.
I'm going to build on Jeremy's. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, really just finding a mentor and finding your network within. A lot of the bigger companies have, organizations within the company. Like if this is just like when you're interviewing, it's important to ask the questions, because just as they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. You definitely can say, oh, I would like to talk to someone in your Latinx network or the women's network. And I think, really just building that network up front, not when you need it, but just building genuine relationships with people, I think goes so far, within the workplace.
Yeah. Very well said by both Jeremy and Alyssa. I couldn't agree more. The only thing I would add is probably be vocal. So, depending on your cultural background, I mean, for me, the Asian community, in my age, in my generation, I was taught not to rock the boat. Okay, you learn, but you don't really challenge. And it's kind of different, coming to America where the culture is very different, and especially in the consulting world, if you join that industry, you really have to learn to be inquisitive, as Jeremy said, but also be outspoken about it, and ask a lot of questions. And, I give you an example. When I was at EY, or my previous employers as well, where you have interns coming in, and, I had one or two interns came and just knock on my door and say, hey, they introduce themselves and they say, can we get some time to get to know each other? And I give them a lot of credit for taking the initiative to do that. And I think if you take that mentality, just develop your own network, ask lots of questions, and develop relationships, that will really take your career a long way. And with this COVID-19 and all these Zoom meetings and working offline, I think that, the group that probably suffer the most are the junior group that are coming into the workforce that don't have that in-person development relationship. So whenever that opens up, I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that.
I also agree with everybody. I think that finding the mentors are really important, but also listen to their advice. And if they don't, if they tend, sometimes people shy away from giving advice because they feel like it might not be, it might be too harsh or whatever. But ask, if they don't give you that advice, ask for something that's constructive. Like be honest with them. Say, I'm really looking for constructive advice. I'm asking you for help. So don't be shy about that, and also look for ways to participate in multicultural events. And sometimes we start focusing just on ourselves, which is good, but also look to see if you can get into diverse groups, because then that helps you learn about other groups too. And I think if you can just focus on your talents and show what you can bring to the table, and but also have this awareness and understanding that you're not alone. You may look different, but it's these differences that will bring talent to the group. So we need the diversity in solutions. And I'm saying that mostly because in computer science, a lot of the algorithms that you can see that people have been talking about, how a lot of times it's not very diverse. So when I think about bringing in diversity, I also can think about how it helps in computer science and machine learning. It really helps to have the inclusion of different ethnic races in there. So.
The last thing, or what I'll add to the discussion is don't be afraid to be innovative. I know that right now the nation is watching women, people of color. So this is kind of like the time that to shine. And especially being an entrepreneur now, I have people reaching out to me looking how they can help, how they can invest in the company, because there's this culture around the country of inclusion and diversity. So for the students, what I would say is this is the time to be innovative, think out of the box, because some of you may not just want to go and just get a job somewhere. You may want to create something. And we're in this whole new normal. This is the time to create. And so if you're kind of thinking of that and, I want to do something, that doesn't exist today, I think this is perfect timing to start creating that new normal. So I challenge the students to be innovative and think out of the box with what you want to do once you leave the wonderful University of Texas.
I would go ahead and just add, from an academic point of view, it's a really long training pipeline. So I guess the biggest piece of advice that I would give is, really focus on projects or areas, fields that really excite you and will keep you going. Because the worst thing you can do is work on things that you don't really enjoy or have a passion for. So before you're off trying to find a mentor, which is going to be really critical, but you can see from Jerome, you may not get a mentor till later in your career. I think that's really common. I think it's important to even explore that idea. Why does that happen? Because that happened to me. Just find an area that you're really interested in and dive in. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you. The next question I have for y'all is, what part of your identity has proven most challenging in your profession, and how have you overcome those challenges? If we'll start off with Barbara.
So I didn't get to say what I got my degree in at UC, so I do have a computer science degree as well. So Marjorie, just like you, from the University of Texas. And I think for me, when I left the university, I was a Black woman veteran. And so, I got all of the diversity in one. And so the challenge for me was really being that, actually too, was being a Black woman on these technology teams. When I first started, I was always most of the time was the only woman on the coding team. And, always the only Black woman sometimes in the company on the team. And so for me, at first was a little intimidating. I kind of felt alone until I started really including myself into, the people that were around me, and realized that we're all the same at the end of the day. And so that was something for me, was the challenge, just being like a Black woman, on these technology teams when I really didn't see anybody like me, kind of wanting to shy away and be to myself, and having to come out of that shell and really immerse myself with the team. And once I did that, it was beautiful. I had, so much people to reach out to me, lifelong friends that I still talk to today because I came out of the shell and included myself before I was actually included with the team. So just, make yourself known on that team, even if you feel like you're the only one.
Marjorie, I know you have a similar degree in computer science. You want to add to that?
Sure. For me, it's kind of similar to Barbara. I was the only Mexican American female on a lot of teams, and but it was always that way for me since I was a kid. And so I was kind of used to it, and I didn't like being called out or singled out for being a Mexican American. Or a female. I just wanted to be part of the group and show people. But as time went on, when I was at Texas Instruments one time, I was talking about how I didn't like to take advantage of programs that were aimed at females or that were aimed at Hispanics, because I wanted to be just acknowledged for who I was, for my talents. And one of the lawyers there got all over me and told me, you should take advantage of these programs for the reason that people fought hard to get these programs, these equal rights programs. And you should take advantage of it because by participating in them and being active in it, other people will become aware of it. They will see you. They will see people like you will see you there, and they will want to also be involved. And after that lecture, I started becoming more and more involved, and it really did help. Even though I was still the only Mexican American female on a lot of teams, I felt comfortable, but I also felt comfortable bringing in other people and saying, hey, come join this group, come be part of this company, and become more aware of bringing in people. And so I think it really helped, and I'm glad that lawyer gave it to me back then and told me how it really was.
So I'd like to add that I did graduate from UT with computer science also. But I will say this, that being a Black person in engineering has been different. I remember graduating from UT, and there was only one other Black student that graduated in my class. And then I remember, with my jobs, I was usually the only Black engineer. So I just focused really on, meeting my commitments, delivering on my commitments and learning the technology. Because if you focus on that, there's nothing else that anyone can say. So I just always focused on, delivering and meeting my schedule. And so I've done well just focusing on that.
I'll share a story that I had. I think the challenge for me was being taken seriously in an industry where it was predominantly run by male consultant. And the Asian community actually, there's lots of math major in Asian, in the Asian group, but not a lot go into consultant. Usually they go into something else, like maybe work for insurance company, working with mortality tables, etc. So when do you guys remember HIPAA and or even what they call Obamacare now? When that first came out, it was big news with everybody, right? And especially with the corporate America, because that hits their bottom line. So we were out there meeting with clients, and we were meeting with the board of directors. We're like past the C-suite now. We're meeting with board directors of these oil and gas companies in Houston. And I walked in as a partner of a firm, a big firm. So I was thinking they would take me seriously, but no, these board of directors were calling me little lady. So, you got to really learn how to speak up for yourself. And like Jerome said, know your stuff. You know your technical stuff, and you really are be articulate about it. Don't be shy. Be vocal about what you know. You change people's mind, and then they start taking you seriously. So, I mean, I think hopefully you won't face a lot of those situations. But when you do, it really is. At first, you're kind of taken aback, and you're like, "Wow, did this really happen?" It will still happen, unfortunately. But there's a solution around it. So I think as long as you know your technical capabilities and you can articulate it and explain yourself, and don't be shy about it, you'll do well.
Dr. Pineda, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think so. I guess the overwhelming theme is, you want to hone your craft, right? So you're going to spend many years honing your craft. But I think it's going to be, you're going to get to a point where you're going to be an expert, and it's going to be a delicate balance to identify these gatekeepers that are going to allow you to progress in your career. And I think that's going to be an interesting challenge. So you just spend some time networking and learning how to swing the vote your way, right, with these critical gatekeepers. So, but I don't think you'll get to that point unless you've honed your craft. So first step, to do that, I've had, I think, being a Mexican American, when I went to UT, it was during Prop 187. There was a lot of protests on affirmative action, and it was made very clear, you shouldn't be at this university for various reasons. My point is, you still needed to stay focused and keep your eye on what was the main point? Why was I at UT? And that was to graduate with my bachelor's of science in microbiology. So I think that's what's important, is when you're going through all these challenges, stay focused on what's most important, because you could be a casualty. And I think we see that all over the news, right? If you make the wrong step, you could lose your career. And I just wasn't in a position where I could do that. So it's a delicate balance, to learn how to tread in those waters, for sure.
Next question is, what made you realize you wanted to pursue the profession that you're in? Like, if there was a moment, an interaction, or an interest. Let's go back to Dr. Pineda.
So, I just coming out from UT Austin with my undergraduate degree in microbiology, I had a really strong interest in science, but getting a PhD as a research scientist is something that, you're going to grow into. So it's not going to happen overnight. And I would just say, be patient, allow yourself to grow, and just keep working at it. It's not going to happen overnight. Especially, I tell my students all the time, Mother Nature is not going to just give you the code. It's going to take some time to crack that code, because I'm a research scientist, so I study proteins and molecules. So it's a long, intensive labor, and it'll take time. Be patient.
Joe? Sorry, Jerome Brown, did you?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So for me, I love computer games. And so that really sparked my interest in technology and wanting to know how to program them. And, then I decided to go to UT, get my computer science degree, been in engineering ever since. But I've been in telecommunications, medical devices. I've been in different industries, which has been really exciting, because I get to learn all the different ways of developing code in different platforms and different environments. And so I'd love to see technology. So I'm getting heavy into cybersecurity, because I think it's kind of fun, and I'm starting to dabble in artificial intelligence, and I think that's going to be fun. So a lot of new technology coming. So very, very excited.
Marjorie?
So my career started off when I was 5 years old, and I'm going to go ahead and age myself here, because it happened. It happened, and it's probably happened to lots of people. But for me, it was when I saw a man walking on the moon, and we had stayed up. And my parents came over to the U.S. from Mexico during a program called the Braceros program in the 50s, and it was bringing in manual labor to the United States, because so many males had gone off to war, and so they didn't have a lot of manual labor in the US, and that was where my parents came over. So they didn't really speak English. My dad learned to speak English some, but my mother never did. But when we were watching Man Walk on the Moon, I basically told my dad I wanted to work for that company, and he said, well, being a female and being a Mexican and not having a lot of money, you're going to have to really work hard. And he told me, don't ever take no for an answer. If somebody tells you no, say, well, give me a solution or help me find a way to get there. And that really helped. And so I pretty much stayed focused on math and science all the way through, got to UT, computer science degree, and made it to NASA, like I said. So I was very driven and it was really exciting. And so, but then that also led, once I got there and the shuttle exploded, I had to find a different opportunity because I got bored waiting for them to fly again. So that's how I ended up at TI. And once I started seeing all the amazing things that they had at TI, it was, NASA was 20 years behind, whereas TI was 20 years ahead. And once I started looking forward, I didn't look back. I mean, I still stay in touch with a lot of my old friends, and my old roommate still works for NASA. But, going forward, and then once I started doing the healthcare technology, which really gives you the opportunity for me to find a way to save lives without actually having to be involved in medicine, but understanding all the data that goes behind it. Once I started doing that, my passion is there, just trying to be an advocate for the patient with technology. And I'm very grateful because I'm always learning new ways and learning new software, learning new techniques, and that keeps changing. And healthcare data has just become so immense that just learning about it is amazing.
V, Fu?
Yes, so I would say that, going back to, I think, Gabriel's advice, which is find what you have passion for, what you like. For me, I found early on that I like solving solution. I like, coming up with a solution, solving problems. I like math, but I also know I like to work to help people, something to do with using math, but the ability to help people at the same time. And so, I don't know if anyone on the call knows Dr. Jim Daniel, who since left UT and retired a long time ago, but he was leading the actuarial program at the time at UT. So I came and I talked to him about it, and he said, V, why don't you have you thought about going into the consulting field in actuarial science? I said, what on earth is an actuary? Most people don't know what an actuary is. So he told me what it is. I did some research. I said, okay, let me give it a shot. And the moment, and it took me about 3 years after I joined that industry before I realized, wow, the ability for you to come up with a solution, to a big problem that helps your client meet their budget constraint, but at the same time still help them take care of their employees and provide proper benefit to the employees and their families. That was just a really good, satisfying feeling. And you felt like, you really make a difference in the world. And that's when I knew that I'm in the right field and that's what I want to do.
Barbara Jones?
Yes, sir. So for me, it kind of dates back just like Marjorie. I was a little girl watching the Jetsons, so I'll date myself as well. And looking at the technology on that cartoon and robots and all that, and I knew I was hooked. I wanted to be in technology. So I remember taking my first computer programming class in high school, and I found heaven. I think I was programming in Pascal back in high school. And so it was like, oh, that's when I realized I want to be a computer programmer. And it has never changed. Still today, I'm the happiest when I'm sitting at my computer. I don't get a chance to do it, often since I'm running my own company now. But the times when I can just get away and my team lets me code something, oh, I'm in heaven still. So I always knew from the little girl all the way to taking that first programming class that I wanted to be a computer programmer. And so that's what I'm still doing to this day.
Of course, Alyssa.
So contrary to having, getting your finding at a young age, I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do. I declared my major as a junior, and it was just based on the classes I had. I had started pre-med because my dad really wanted me to be a doctor, but I just wasn't there. Like people who were pre-med were already shadowing and, working in certain labs, and that just wasn't me. So I went to the career fair and I literally just gave everyone my resume who would talk to me. And so, you know, I really was just open to trying. Like my first job, I was a technician at HEB, working in manufacturing. And I knew that I loved manufacturing and the creation of a product in the community, like on the floor, like everybody was working towards a goal. And, you know, months later, even after I had started that job, P&G called me, and honestly, I was just like, who are these people? And so I like looked up, saw all the products that they made, and I was like, went in my bathroom and I like picked up everything that I could find. I was like, oh my God, these people make everything. And I talked to, you know, some of the people there, and they were just, you know, really talking about the consumer and like how you can make their lives better. You know, giving like people who are disabled or have arthritis, like how can you make the bottle easier to squeeze, and you know, how can you provide benefits to people. And once I, you know, joined the organization, I really just became passionate about people, and, you know, delivering better products to people. As I was there, I definitely, you know, saw the amount of waste as well, which is why I left the company, only to come right back into a corporation. But, you know, really talked to my old manager about it, and he was just like, yes, like you're working for a corporation, it can be draining at times, but this is where you'll make the difference. Like you can, if you can make like the plastic, you know, recycled versus virgin plastic, like you can save waste, like you can, you know, help the planet. And that's really when I felt my connection with the industry. I grew up in Corpus Christi, which is now just overrun by plastic plants. And it's sad, like it's sad because all of that plastic goes into poor areas, into, you know, third world countries. Like the people who get littered with this stuff are, you know, it's me. It's like, you know, my people. And so it's something that I really have grown to be passionate about as I dig more and more into the numbers. And, you know, with climate change and all of that, definitely have, you know, felt the connection there and feel like there's a purpose for me within the industry.
Thank you for answering our questions. This next portion, we're going to send you guys into breakout rooms. We're going to change the format a little bit than what we stated previously. We're going to have 2 breakout rooms and 3 of the panelists in each. We're still going to split the time, and you can go between breakout rooms, but this way you guys get to interact with as many panelists as possible. So at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to see breakout rooms. Panelists, please join the breakout room with your name, and then students or guests join whichever breakout room you'd like to for the first half.